My name is Oji Okwe. I'm here with Betty Irabor, founder of lifestyle magazine Genevieve. UBA Foundation has invited us as part of their Mental Health Awareness Week program that they're doing throughout the course of the week to raise awareness on the issues and challenges of mental health. You know what I found quite instructive? The reason why you decided to put your societal tendencies in your book is because you didn't want other people to tell your story, right? You just wanted to be the one to...
I don't want people to say...
Because you've exposed yourself.
I don't want people to say...
Nigeria.
Somebody said they saw Auntie Betty at Yaba Psychiatry. This is my book. They're just going to say, have you not read her book?
I like that.
But for me, one thing that came out of the book, a lot of women wanted to know what it was about Sonny and why he stood for me. And then when I go to give talk, they're like, Auntie Betty, but what happens when you don't have a partner like Sonny? And when you don't have a best friend like Barbara? And it's a major problem. Because imagine where you're spending your time, where it's supposed to be your safe place, that's home, because you don't want to go out. It's not the toxic place where your husband is like, hey, are you the first to be depressed? And then you have problems. No. I've seen so many people have told me how their partners worked out, spend more time out because they didn't want. But Sonny, God never gives you more than you can bear. So God knew that if Sonny wasn't there, I probably won't be here.
God is amazing.
Yeah, like 3 days of not taking a bath, and he comes, I'm running a bath for you. I'm running a bath for you, and he knows I'm not going to take that bath.
Some of our unsung heroes.
Yeah. But it's very important that we also are mindful of the people we want to spend the rest of our lives with.
Yes.
This forever after, then we need to really review it. What makes it forever for you? Please, me, I'm that kind of woman. I want a man who's compassionate in my life, and I want love. I want flowers. I want flowers. I remember I posted something about flowers. Auntie Betty flowers. I beg, what happened to the mess bag? I beg, I want diamond. I'm like, you really haven't been to a place where you'll be looking at your diamond like this. You want to flush it down. You want to flush it down.
Auntie Betty, you are one of the pioneers, almost, I'd say that, championing this mental health awareness. You've spoken so much. Now, do you think that people are hearing your message? Do you think that society has changed its view on mental health awareness?
Society hasn't. There isn't enough education. First and foremost is for people to be comfortable to express themselves about how they're feeling. But I like the fact that people say to me, Auntie Betty, we should meet on Thursday. Oh no, I'm seeing my therapist, And I'm like, we're actually having this conversation. But I remember speaking at a church event. There were about 6,000 people at the TPH. And I remember this guy asking me to autograph the book to his wife. And then he slipped me a paper. I really need to talk to you. For being a man, all the other women were drawing my attention. Auntie Betty, what you said about sleep and all. He just slipped that note to me. I really put his number. So I called him and I found that God needed him to be at that event. He was totally confused about it. So it was a kind of validation for him to hear insomnia, feeling like a failure even when you have everything, and not having a supportive spouse, and thinking that we really didn't love each other, but family wanted us to be married. So there are so many questions. So impact, success for me is all about impact. And if you say, have I made any impact regarding my advocacy? I would say big time. And there are so many organizations. I don't want to be an NGO. I just want to be Betty Irabor, a survivor who is sharing her story with people.
Yeah.
And I think if I succeed in doing that, getting more people to open up to me, even in salons, Even when I go to the beach, people come and like, Auntie Betty, yes, and I recognize what I'm going through. I recognize that this is what it is.
Yes.
What did you do? Who did you see? And when I'm honest that I'm still on medication, why? I could tell you a lie. I'm not on medication. But I want you to understand that my journey towards healing, it's ongoing. I think what eventually worked for me, apart from the fact that I kept going from one to the other. Sometimes I was going from pillar to post, but eventually Eventually, my husband had said to me, there's this lady who was on radio, her name is Dr. Ndupu. I need you to see her. And by then I was like, let me take this depression to my grave. Let me die. I'm not seeing, at that time I had seen about 9 therapists, psychiatrists, whatever you want to call it. I didn't want to see anymore. I was on different medication. It was driving me crazy. I wanted a quick fix. So every time they gave me medication, I just didn't look to see that I already had that medication. So I was drinking new medications, whereas they were the same as different brand names and all that. So when he said, I want you to see this lady, I said, lie. I'm not going to see any more I'm not going to see a psychiatrist. I was tired from the one that I would walk into his office and say, are you that publisher lady? You're a celebrity. Why are you depressed? To the one that says, you don't look depressed. To the doctor that said to me, when I saw you in a lifestyle magazine and I called my wife and this lady looks depressed. And I'm supposed to open up to you. How do you say that to someone who is ill and has come to you for help? And then you said, oh, I told my wife you were depressed. Thank you. Now she open up to you. Or the one that says, oh, you're that publisher woman. Oh, celebrities, you're not depressed. Or how can you be depressed? Are you not Sonia Rabo's wife? Are you a celebrity? So immediately you become very guarded.
Disgraceful.
So, but this lady, Dr. Ndupo, when I went into her office, she was just staring at me blank. It was later that she knew. Of course, the minute I walked in, she knew who I was. And I was sitting down there like, okay, tell me something I don't know. Tell me. And she kept taking me back slow. She was patient. 2 hours for 20K. Wow. And if I had spent 4 hours she was fine. She was taking down notes, making eye contact, telling me things I needed to hear when you start sleeping. And then at a stage, I'll be speaking and my face had movement. My face would move like that because of a certain medication. The first thing she said to me is that, oh, vitamin E. Yeah, vitamin E. I'm like, vitamin E? People were giving me medication to solve one problem and creating 100. There was one medication I was on, I went to the bathroom in the morning and I took off my robe and I had blotched skin. Everywhere was red. I screamed, Sonny, we're in Abuja. Sonny came and we called the doctor. He said, oh, it's an after effect. Why don't you take the time to tell me that? I may see something like that. So I was on medication after medication after. So Dr. Ndupu took me on my first experience of talk therapy. Let's talk. When she finished, I was like, medication, prescribe. And I was so angry that, are you not going to prescribe? I said, no, you've been on too many different medications. So except for that vitamin E, to stop this, because I became, I was wearing hair and thinking, let me disguise. We already disguise.
Wow.
Let me disguise. Because I had spasm, and then I remember I was sitting in my office one day and my son said, your face just moved. And I felt no one could see it. But it was actually like,
how long did that take before it stopped?
For the time I was on this particular medication, which a lot of people are on.
Wow.
The same medication. And when people call me and say, Auntie Betty, that medication you mentioned, I'm on it. I say to them, I'm not a therapist. You have to go back to your therapist. So people can understand, like, Auntie Betty, I'm having that movement. Auntie Betty, I remember trying to speak. My lips would just not move because of a certain medication. So you're already traumatized. And then the medication, so
wow.
My lips will clasp. So she gradually started pulling me out of the dangerous medication. And we spoke more. And then I found out I was actually laughing, smiling. She took me back to my childhood trauma. And I kept thinking, what has that got? I'm 60 something. You're taking me back to when I was 8 years. But she had time. She had time, and she had a lovely face. You know, later we would discuss and she would share her own struggles with me, not on mental health, other things. And I was like, wow, you too, you have problems.
So you've talked about Dr. Ndupo, you've talked about Yaba left. Where else?
Yeah, I saw other doctors as well. I saw one in England, the typical British face. That was like,
no, I mean in Nigeria.
That one was like, madam, you've got to bother me. You know, and you know, in England, no prescription.
Yeah.
At that time, once you give me medication, I'm like, medication.
Oh,
she didn't give me,
really?
she just gave me like sleep therapy, sleep hygiene, and use blue lights, declutter your room, breathing, hold. I'm like, is that it? And she looked so sad. Imagine you sad, and then your doctor is sadder than you. I couldn't wait to leave. That was in England.
Yeah.
So
wait, so you're saying here in Nigeria, you can only just say Yaba left and some.
no, there's so many organizations now. You have She Rights Woman, you have Dr. Maimuna, you have so many. There's another guy. So many people, you know, who offer counsel.
Right.
You know, so it wasn't like then, but now people are more open. There are so many people out there. Some of them have grants.
Right.
She Rights Woman is actually top. You know, I'm so proud of her. She's also trying to get the National Assembly to review the bill.
Very good.
You know, and things like that. So there's so many, Dr. Maimuna, there's so many books. My book is there. Dr. Maimuna has her book as well, Deep Expressions. So there's so many people that people can go to without necessarily going to Yaba.
Yes.
But people still go to Yaba.
Absolutely.
But you think going to Yaba, I had to make a deposit on behalf of a young girl. It was 180,000 naira.
No.
They couldn't afford it. You know, 180,000 for 3 months. She would stay there. But how many people can put down 180,000?
That's another issue.
Yes.
That's
So
another issue.
if we're talking about the growth or the increase in the number of people, what are the solutions? Where do I go? Can I afford to pay 10,000 naira or 25,000 naira consultation? Can I afford the medication?
Yes.
One medication there's one particular medication that used to be 4,000, it's now 7,500. 30 days.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, if we're talking about this awareness, we need to be talking about solution.
Right. Well, let's just quickly touch more on stigma,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But what role do you think that religious bodies can play in, you know, helping to eradicate the stigma that comes with mental health challenges?
It's very sad that, you know, some pastors say to you that if you're a child of God, if you're a believer, you cannot be depressed. So what does the patient do? Pretends that she's not depressed. I think there's a place for prayers. There's a place for religion. There's a place for logic. And there's a place for the reality that is mental illness. You need to seek help. We're talking clinical depression. And people should not mistake it for, I'm having a bad day, I'm sad. My boyfriend left me, I'm sad. I lost this contract, I'm sad. NEPA, I'm sad. It's clinical, which means it's an illness. So the church has no right, no pastor has any right to blackmail people into saying they're no longer depressed because you cornered me into believing that if I'm a real child of God, if I'm a believer, then I have no business.
Because this is one of the biggest issues we're facing here in Nigeria.
I didn't go to any church or pastor to seek help. Not that I knew better, but I just felt what was happening to me. I needed help. I needed to see a professional. Although I didn't get the kind of help I needed at the time I needed it, at the end of the day, I still got professional help. So it's very important. There's a place for prayers. There's a place for prayers. There's a place for logic. You can't rationalize this. A, B, C, the 1 + 1 = 2 does not. It's not the same that, I'm a successful woman, I shouldn't be depressed. There's postnatal depression. That's a different thing
depression.
Entirely. So we need to be kinder. We need to be human. I think we're fast losing what makes us human. The act of compassion, the act of empathy, the act of kindness. Also feeling for other people, looking out for other people, saying, how are you? And actually saying, I'm here, I want to listen. So when I ask you, how are you? When you ask me, how are you? Please make sure that you have time to at least listen. If you can't listen right there, like, oh, I'm rushing off to a meeting, but can we talk later? So don't ask me how I am if you don't have my time. And I want everybody to know that it is okay not to have it all together at a particular time. Like, be gentle with yourself. Be very gentle with yourself. Most times we're not gentle with ourselves. We judge ourselves too harshly. And I think, we will all get to that place eventually. It may take longer for you, it may take shorter for other people. And then do not judge your own success by other people's speed. We will all get there at the time that we were destined to get there. I think it's very important that we also we must be a safe place for ourselves. And that means we should watch the kind of self-conversations we're having.
Yeah.
And then it's very important that we meditate. We find time to meditate. Do what makes you happy. If you want to vent, vent. You can vent to a friend. But be very open about how you're feeling. Nobody's judging you. And stigma, only if you allow it. I don't feel stigmatized, even when people have said to me that, oh, you poured out so much in your book. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's my pouring. I decided to write it. So I think people should set themselves free by being honest, truthful about how you're feeling.
I want to thank you very much for the knowledge you have shared on this platform. It's so amazing to see how you have turned your wound into wealth. Thank you. I hope we get to chat again soon.